Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously, we talk about a lot of different loadouts here on the channel, and as we continue to test new things in game, find new meta builds and whatnot, things definitely become very apparent when it comes to the stats of certain attachments and certain builds. And today I wanted to go over a major switch that I feel like a lot of players should be making to some of their more close range based classes, and really point out a huge mistake and sort of a waste that a lot of players are currently doing with their setups. So as we break it all down, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, or if you have not already subscribed, every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, news, updates, loadouts, tips. You'll find it all right here. So feel free to sub with your notifications turned on. So what we've got here is my standard meta Owen gun setup that we've talked about a ton of times on the channel in the past. You know, we got the recoil booster, we've got the rapid barrel. Those are going to really help out with the TTK. We got our nice red dot on the slate 2.5 times, remove stock for better mobility. We got acrobatic or gung ho sometimes for that better sprintify or better movement. Quick, we've got polymer for the better control, the Gorenko 72 round drums for the better fire rate, better control and whatnot, the hand stop, and then also hollow point. And you might look at this and say, hey, this is a really good setup. I, for one, have used this setup for well over a month at this point straight almost, and have dropped plenty of banger gameplays with this, and this is probably one of my favorite weapons in the game, except it's not at its full potential. As we know with really any SMG here, there's a few very common things that are the same on pretty much every setup. If I were to change up and go to, let's say, my meta wellgun setup, we again have recoil booster, the fire rate increasing barrel, remove stock, acrobatic, quick, polymer, hand stop, hollow point. That's all the same as it was before, right? And again, this is a great setup. I've been using this for so long, yet it's not at its complete potential. The issue here is the fact that we are using an SMG. Both of these builds, for instance, you could say the same thing with an MP40 build as well. We're looking at all these SMG builds, and where are you predominantly using these SMG builds? 0 to 10 meters, 0 to 20 meters, maybe 30 meters max. Then obviously these all have very significant damage drop-offs, and then they're just not viable. They're not practical past that, right? So you have these setups and they're good for what they are, but in 0 to 20 meters, when you're fighting inside of a building, when you're fighting from window to window, when you're fighting in a tunnel or a hallway, what is the thing that you want to focus on the most there? Getting your shots off first, getting your sights up first, and being able to consistently control the weapon. And with so many attachments that we have on here, like the hand stop, like the magazines, in a lot of cases, not necessarily with the well gun always, but you have so many recoil based attachments, and you also have the fact that every gun in this game has predictable recoil, so you can just master a pattern and know exactly how to counter it. When you look at one specific category, the rear grips, polymer on SMGs, which is one of the most used attachments in the game for subs, and of course we've been talking about it ever since Vanguard was integrated, is good, and it's going to make some SMGs very usable, but it's not the best. If we were to go ahead and look at some of these other attachments, accuracy and horizontal control, not really a viable option, so hatched is out of the question. Basic recoil control is nice, but also polymer does that and more, so why use rubber? Leather, better ADS, better stability, that's really ideal. However, there's a better option as well. Pine tar, better control and hip fire. If you were using a hip fire build like the PPSH, that'd be great, but it's not super viable or versatile. Stippled, I wish was good, but it's only based around initial recoil and then recoil recovery when you stop shooting, so you're recentering basically. Again, not super practical in a lot of ways. Grooved, better ADS, better accuracy, better ADS firing move speed, but it's also hurting your sprintify and ADS, which is not ideal for any subs. Taped, better aiming stability, better swap speed, so good if you're not running, amped. Granular, aiming stability, walking steadiness, movement speed, still not super great for subs, which already have good stats there. Then you have fabric, better ADS, better sprintify, and better hip fire. You lose some accuracy, but that's not a huge problem, especially in close range fights, right? So really, in a lot of cases, fabric here is wildly more beneficial to use on a close range setup than polymer, which is so heavily dominating the rear grip category. Now keep in mind, this is pretty much only applying to close range options. For any medium to long range build, any rifle, any LMG, polymer is by far and clearly the winner. But for up close fights, if you're fighting in a small room, if you're fighting in one of the hotels or the resort area and you're in a close quarter situation, you want to have a good sprintify, which obviously we can get out of other attachments, but why not increase that, right? The faster the sprintify, the better. You already have decent control in a 0 to 20 range fight where you have such a large target in front of you, it's easy to stay on target. So recoil is not number one priority there. Speed should be, and that's where fabric helps out so much. So really, if I wanted to make this my most optimal setup out there, I'd drop polymer and add on fabric. Now, I do want to say that's not the case for every single SMG in the game. If you were to try to use the Type 100 with a build like this, you'd probably struggle, because while the Type 100 has an insane TTK, it has abysmal recoil, especially horizontal. So something like polymer, or even honestly, if we go back in, hatched, would probably not be too bad there. However, if you're using an easy SMG like the whale gun, like the MP40, like the Owen gun, if I were to go back to that, I want to drop polymer, and I'd want to throw on fabric, and I've now really maximized the potential of this gun. I also want to go ahead and look at what that actually changes with the recoil, because obviously the only reason we're using polymer on close range weapons is for that better control, but is that even actually worth it? So we're here on True Game Data, and I've gone ahead and I have the MP40 for one of these examples. I also have the Owen gun for another, just by what I was looking at here. And the TTK chart, that's cool. Obviously we're using this all the time. I've got 3 different builds here though. We just want to pay attention to the colors basically. The orange build is the MP40 with the recoil booster, the 317mm barrel, the Gorenko 45 mags, and the polymer. The pink is that same build, but instead of polymer, we got fabric, and the blue, or the teal here, is just the base MP40, no attachments. Now, because I have like the premium thing on True Game Data, which, by the way, shout out to Tony for these features that make this conversation even easier. If I were to go ahead and look at the recoil plots, we can see these as displayed. Orange, going to be the polymer build, pink, fabric build, teal, nothing. So the base MP40 recoil definitely up there, but you'll notice there is a minuscule difference with the polymer build versus the fabric build. Yeah, you can clearly see the polymer is stopping a little shorter than the fabric, but there's really not a super noticeable gap there in the recoil versus obviously the base weapon, where it's cut by a third almost, even without the polymer grip on there. So you're getting a minuscule difference for recoil, whereas you're getting a much better sprint to fire and a much better ADS when running fabric, which is crucial for a lot of those close range fights. We can also do the same thing with the Owen gun. Orange line is recoil booster, rapid barrel, Gorenko 72, and polymer. Pink's going to be the fabric one again, and then the teal is no attachments at all. If we go ahead and we look at the recoil for this one, we can see there's not a significant difference between any of these. Honestly, the Owen's recoil is pretty easy, and you don't see much of a decrease with certain attachments on there, especially because the rapid barrel and the recoil booster are not helping out a ton. But orange line here is finishing barely beneath the fabric grip. So polymer, you are getting slightly less recoil, but it's nothing super drastic. And even without having polymer on there, by using the fabric grip and using our normal attachments, we're still getting better control than we would with just the base Owen gun setup. So hopefully this helps sort of further this conversation and prove that yes, polymer is great for a weapon that has bad control like the Type 100, let's say, or it's great for medium to long range weapons like the Automaton or the STG or the Bren or whatever else. But for a relatively lower recoil and aggressive SMG, fabric should be the way that most players are leaning if they want to really maximize the potential of that close range based weapon. So if I were you, I'd go in and check your loadouts. If we've been talking about polymer on one of these SMGs, which I know I have and plenty of other creators have for quite some time, it definitely, I feel like, is worth the switch. You'll notice a tad bit more recoil in certain cases, but that's nothing you can't look past or learn the new pattern of and slightly tweak your, recoil control a little bit to that, pulling down a little bit more on your mouse or your thumbstick, right? It's super easy to counter that recoil. There's nothing you can really do to enhance your sprint to fire or your ADS like you would being able to fix recoil without running the fabric grip. So definitely worth the switch in my opinion. Hopefully this video helped you guys out and gave you some new insight as to what you should be running on some of your close range builds. That said, that is going to wrap things up for today. If you enjoyed the video or if you did find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you can always stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.